Bryan Fischer, anti-gay Bryan Fischer from the American Family Association, he has a pretty simple solution for solving the problem of sexual assault in the military. I'll play it for you. You tell me whether you think this would work, or you tell me whether you think that this is not really a good solution. And again, I use the term solution very broadly here. Let's take a listen.
Good public policy is to recognize the fallenness of human nature, our proneness to wander, as the hymn puts it, our susceptibility to temptation of all kinds, including sexual temptation, and to develop rational, common sense, thoughtful, intelligence policies, public policies to try to put some safeguards, some guardrails, some fences around those proclivities.
And what will that be?
Because people are going to get in trouble if they don't have these guardrails around their lives. And that's part of what not having women in basic training and women in the uniform sharing these intimate quarters and long assignments with people of the opposite sex. And that's why I think we need to bring to an end the practice of putting women in the military, in uniform, in combat situations, receiving combat training, going through all of the basic training and all that kind of stuff. Time to bring that experiment to an end, realize it's a failure. We have sexual assaults in the military out of control. Time to recognize the gays in the military. That was a failure. We've got male sexual assaults out of control. New York Times saying that 90%, this is the New York Times figure, not mine, 90% of the offenders, the sexual offenders in the military, are serial offenders, serial rapists. So what the New York Times is saying, these male-on-male assaults, 90% of those are being committed by serial homosexual rapists.
Let's stop it right there. There's so much to analyze here. First, just a point of fact here. The New York Times article is being distorted by Bryan Fischer. The New York Times article does not say that 90% of rape is happening in the military by homosexual male serial rapists. 90%, what the article actually says is 90% of military rapes are committed by men with histories of assault. It doesn't even say that they are man-on-man rapes. And as we know, what happens in prison, as we know from what happens with pedophiles, just because you force sexual activity on someone of the same gender, whether they're above or below the age of consent, does not mean that you're a homosexual. In the case of pedophilia, it means that you're a pedophile, and that's a separate thing. In prison, I don't think let me take it back. We know that many of the individuals who admit to raping other men in prison do not consider themselves to be homosexual in the time.
That's exactly right. And, just to make a general comment about what Bryan Fischer is saying about women in the military and gays, we've already debated this publicly, and we've already established that we're going to have women in the military and we're going to have openly gay people in the military. There have always been gays in the military.
Right.
So it's over.
And not only is it over, but this is more blame the victim stuff. Again, the problem when you have and I agree, I've been speaking out, we agree with Bryan Fischer that this is rampant. This is a disaster in the military that we have right now. But the problem is not, the solution is not going to be eliminating the victims. And he's not talking about, by the way, the straight male victims of this who exist. He's only talking about women and gay men. Blaming the victim is not the solution. Blaming the victim is not really going to address the problem. And why not focus on the people doing the rape, which, by the way, he's also distorting by saying it is gay men with a history of gay rape.
I would say even more, it's not just blaming the perpetrators, but blaming the system, which makes it so that commanders can then repeal or annul a conviction on some of these rapists. I mean, look at that as how to prevent this in the future.
Right. And then as we're hearing some comments in the live YouTube chat as well, anytime we talk about sexual assault, let's not forget that woman-on-man rape also exists, and it's basically given no importance, and that's part of why it's often not reported, because the fact that we don't hear about it makes men even less likely to report it for fear of feeling shame. So a lot of nonsense there. Facebook.com/David Pakman Show. We're going to take a break. We will come back. We will talk to Dennis Campbell. We have not yet discussed what's been going on in Turkey. We will talk about that and plenty more. Check out the Indiegogo campaign on our website. Big stuff is happening. Thanks for being with us today.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.